Hotel buffets change the real cost of a stay more than most room upgrades. The buffet line is often treated as a simple bonus, but it can be the difference between a stay that runs smoothly and a stay that feels inefficient and overpriced. The common mistake is treating any buffet as interchangeable. In practice, buffet operations vary by scale, staffing, timing, and how the hotel plans occupancy. Those variables shape what gets served, how it is handled, and how comfortable it is to use. A wrong buffet assumption creates two forms of regret. The first is financial, paying extra for access that performs worse than local options. The second is practical, losing time and comfort each day to a dining setup that does not match the trip's schedule, sleep needs, or crowd tolerance. This video ranks common buffet setups from least useful to most reliable, using decision signals that can be checked before booking. Comment if buffet access influences booking decisions. Scope covers hotel breakfast and dinner buffets commonly found in budget properties, mid-range business hotels, and resort-style hotels with leisure demand. The focus is on buffet setups available to standard guests, including included breakfast, paid add-ons, and resort dining plans. Relevance is current and ongoing. The operational patterns described are not tied to a single season or a single brand, and they appear across many regions where hotels run large-volume dining. Evaluation criteria is limited to factors that change the stay experience in measurable ways. How quickly food is replaced during service, how replenishment is managed during peak periods, how dense the buffet room becomes, how effectively hygiene controls are maintained in shared service areas, how buffet pricing compares to nearby alternatives, and how the hotel handles excess production without degrading guest-facing quality. No assumptions are made from star rating, chain affiliation, or marketing photos. Only operational signals that can be validated through room descriptions, dining hours, pricing terms, and recent guest reviews are treated as decision inputs. Large-scale resort buffets with excessive variety. This category is the high-item count resort buffet designed to serve many guests in a single room, often with multiple stations and a very long menu list. It is common in properties that sell dining plans, package deals, and all-in positioning where the buffet is presented as a core attraction. The practical issue is that variety spreads demand across too many dishes at once. When 100 guests are choosing across 60 options, the consumption rate for each individual item becomes unpredictable. That forces the kitchen to either overproduce to avoid empty trays or underproduce and accept frequent gaps in availability. For the stay experience, this affects comfort first. Large buffet rooms are usually built for throughput, not quiet. Seating layouts tend to pack tables tightly, pathways narrow, and traffic crosses in multiple directions between stations. That physical setup raises ambient noise during service and makes the dining room feel crowded even when the hotel is not at full occupancy. Sleep quality is affected indirectly through timing and recovery. In resorts, buffet hours often align with peak guest movement, which can overlap with late-night entertainment schedules and early morning tour departures. That concentrates noise in corridors and elevators around the same periods guests are trying to rest, and the buffet becomes one driver of those synchronized movements. Food quality becomes inconsistent because the operational goal is display completeness. In an excessive variety buffet, a meaningful portion of items are included to fill space and create perceived abundance rather than to be the best performing dishes. That raises the chance of encountering lukewarm foods, heavily sauced items designed to hold longer, and repeated side dishes that rely on bulk ingredients. Layout usability matters because resort buffets often require multiple trips. Items are split across stations, and the most demanded foods can be placed far apart to distribute crowds. That turns a simple meal into a sequence of loops through a busy room, which is inconvenient for travelers managing mobility limits, children, or work calls. A decision signal that works before booking is the menu length shown in official listings. If the property advertises an unusually large number of items without describing kitchen style, sourcing, or station specialization, it is likely optimized for marketing rather than performance. Another signal is reviews mentioning huge selection paired with complaints about temperature, repeated items, or busy movement. This buffet type suits travelers who treat the buffet as an occasional convenience and do not need a calm dining environment. It should be avoided by guests who prioritize consistent meal quality, who need predictable mornings, or who want dining that supports recovery and quiet rest. Budget hotels offering paid buffet add-ons. This category is the budget or lower mid-range hotel that sells breakfast or dinner buffet access separately from the room rate. The buffet is positioned as an optional purchase, often priced per person, sometimes with small discounts for advance booking. The stay impact begins with perceived value. In many markets, paid buffet pricing is set to create revenue rather than to match ingredients and labor. That means the cost of 2 paid buffets can approach the nightly difference between a basic hotel and a better located hotel with included breakfast, turning the dining add-on into a hidden upgrade fee. Comfort is affected by the hotel's staffing model. Budget properties often staff the breakfast room with minimal coverage. When the buffet is an add-on, there is less incentive to overstaff for guest comfort because the buffet is not a guaranteed expectation for every guest. That can lead to slow table clearing, limited seating readiness, and more time spent waiting for basic service functions. Room layout usability is affected because paid buffet add-ons commonly come with restrictive terms. Some hotels require vouchers, specific ticketing, or time window limitations tied to the purchase type. Those operational rules create friction in the morning, especially for guests juggling checkout logistics, transportation timing, or early meetings. Noise and sleep quality are affected by guest behavior rather than the buffet itself. When a buffet is paid separately, usage skews toward guests who want to get full value, which increases crowd intensity during the shortest part of the morning window. The resulting surge is often louder and more rushed than in hotels where breakfast is a simple included utility and guests spread out more naturally. A practical booking insight is to treat the buffet add-on as a comparison tool, not a default purchase. If the buffet price is listed, use it to calculate the real nightly cost per person. If the hotel becomes non-competitive after adding the buffet cost, the booking is often better redirected to a hotel with a stronger location, better room insulation, or a quieter floor plan. A second decision signal is the hotel's neighborhood food environment. Budget hotels in dense areas typically sit near cafes, bakeries, and convenience stores. When local options exist within a short walk, a paid buffet needs to outperform those alternatives on time efficiency, cleanliness, and reliable opening hours to justify its price. This buffet type should be avoided by cost-sensitive travelers who can access nearby food quickly, and by travelers who value a quiet, efficient morning routine. It suits travelers staying in isolated areas where the hotel is the only reliable morning food source, and where the add-on price still keeps total cost below comparable alternatives. Peak hour crowded breakfast buffets. This category is defined less by hotel segment and more by service pattern. A breakfast buffet that operates in a short window with a predictable rush, often created by business schedules, tour groups, family travel patterns, or limited dining space. The core stay impact is time loss. Crowded peak hour buffets create lines not only at the buffet stations but also at the entry point, the beverage area, and the seating assignment process. That turns breakfast into a timed activity that must be planned rather than a flexible option, which reduces morning autonomy and increases schedule stress. Crowding changes comfort in measurable ways. When the dining room is at capacity, chairs and tables are adjusted closer together, aisle clearance becomes limited, and movement becomes more frequent behind seated guests. That raises the perceived noise level and reduces the ability to have a calm meal, especially for travelers sensitive to sound and motion. Sleep quality is affected through forced timing. If the buffet becomes usable only during the rush because of itinerary constraints, it pushes wake-up time earlier than needed. Over multiple days, that can reduce recovery and make the trip feel more tiring even when the room itself is fine. Food experience changes because the buffet line becomes a throughput problem. When many guests arrive at once, the kitchen prioritizes keeping trays available rather than refining presentation and texture. That can lead to simplified plating, fewer made-to-order elements, and less consistency in beverage temperature, baked goods texture, and replenishment timing. Layout usability matters because crowded buffets expose weak room design. Hotels with narrow buffet corridors, a single coffee station, or a single entry point create bottlenecks that extend across the room. The guest experience becomes less about food and more about navigating congestion. A decision tool before booking is review language that references timing rather than quality. Comments about long lines, no seats, chaos, busy at 8, or had to wait for a table indicate that the buffet's limiting factor is crowd flow, not ingredients. Another signal is a short service window in the hotel description, such as a buffet that ends early on weekdays, which compresses demand. A practical action is to choose hotels that offer alternatives when peak hour congestion is likely. Alternatives include extended breakfast hours, multiple seating areas, room service breakfast options, or a lobby cafe that can function as a backup. This is a booking decision because those alternatives should appear in the property's listed amenities and recent reviews. This buffet setup should be avoided by travelers with strict morning schedules, light sleepers who need a later start, and guests who prefer low-stimulation environments. It suits travelers who naturally eat early, can arrive before the rush, and treat breakfast as a quick refuel rather than a sit-down part of the trip. Standard mid-range included breakfast buffets. This category is the common included breakfast buffet in mid-range hotels, often business-oriented or mixed-use, with a moderate menu size and a repeatable service structure. It is designed to meet baseline expectations rather than to function as a destination feature. The primary advantage is predictability. Mid-range included buffets typically run on standardized purchasing, consistent station layout, and stable staffing expectations. That reduces the chance of extreme outcomes such as unusually poor service or unusually high congestion, and it supports consistent morning planning. Comfort benefits come from the dining room's typical size relative to occupancy. In many mid-range properties, the breakfast room is built to handle a large portion of guests without becoming fully saturated. Seating tends to be functional, spacing is usually adequate, and traffic patterns are often simpler than in resort buffets with many stations. Noise and sleep quality are supported indirectly through smoother morning movement. When breakfast is included and predictable, guests distribute across time more evenly, reducing hallway surges. That can lower corridor noise in the busiest part of the morning, which matters for rooms near elevators and service closets. Room layout usability improves because included breakfast reduces the need to leave the property for a basic meal. That is especially valuable when the room lacks a functional workspace for food, when there is limited storage, or when local options require transportation. The buffet becomes a time-saving tool that protects the usable part of the day. The key limitation is that mid-range included buffets often aim for broad acceptability rather than high quality. The food is usually engineered for volume and wide preference. Travelers expecting restaurant-level texture, specialty diets, or premium beverages may find it insufficient, even if it is operationally reliable. A booking insight is to treat this category as a baseline comparator when evaluating total trip cost. If two hotels are similar in price, an included buffet that is consistently operational can justify choosing a slightly less central location if it reduces daily friction. If local dining is a priority, included breakfast becomes less valuable, and the hotel should be selected primarily for room quality and noise control. A second decision signal is the presence of a well-defined buffet description, including hours, typical items, and whether beverages are included. Hotels that clearly list these details are more likely to run the buffet as a stable service rather than an improvised perk. This buffet type suits short-stay guests who want convenience and predictable mornings, including business travelers, families managing early departures, and travelers who prefer to minimize decision-making each morning. It should be avoided by travelers whose trip value depends on specialized food preferences or who want breakfast as an exploration activity outside the hotel. Small, controlled selection buffets with high turnover. This category is the limited selection buffet designed around occupancy reality rather than marketing display. The menu is intentionally narrow, focused on a smaller set of items that are replenished frequently because demand concentrates on those items. The most important stay impact is consistency of the core meal. With fewer items, the kitchen can focus on keeping the main dishes in better condition across the service period. This reduces the chance that guests encounter food that feels neglected, because staff attention is concentrated and replacement cycles are simpler to manage. Comfort improves because these buffets often operate in smaller rooms or multi-use spaces that are easier to control. The traffic pattern tends to be straightforward, stations are fewer, and the path from seating to food is short. That reduces foot traffic behind tables and makes the meal feel less hectic even when the hotel is moderately busy. Noise and sleep quality benefit because limited selection buffets tend to draw shorter visits. When guests can complete breakfast efficiently without multiple station loops, the dining room clears faster and the peak compresses less aggressively into a single time slot. That helps reduce synchronized hallway movement that can disturb rooms near high traffic areas. Layout usability is supported because the buffet functions as a practical service rather than a spectacle. Items are commonly arranged for efficiency: one clear beverage area, one clear hot area, one clear cold area, and simple utensil placement. That reduces confusion and minimizes time spent searching or backtracking. Perceived value becomes stronger because guests can evaluate the buffet on performance rather than on variety. A narrow menu that is executed well often delivers higher satisfaction than a large menu with uneven results. For booking decisions, this matters because it aligns the buffet with the traveler's goal: reliable fuel without wasted time or uncertainty. A decision signal before booking is review phrasing that emphasizes reliability rather than abundance. Mentions like simple but well-run, fresh and frequently replaced, or small selection done properly indicate this operating style. Another signal is the presence of occupancy-linked messaging, such as hotels noting adjusted service styles during low occupancy, which implies active operational management. A practical action is to prioritize this buffet type when the trip requires stable mornings. Examples include early tour, tight work schedules, medical appointments, or travel with children where predictable routines protect the day. In these cases, the buffet's value comes from operational consistency, not from novelty. This category suits travelers who want dependable meal logistics, who prefer calm dining, and who evaluate hotels on how smoothly they support the itinerary. It should be avoided by travelers who require extensive choice for dietary reasons and cannot verify that the limited menu covers their needs through the hotel's published item list or recent guest feedback. A buffet should be evaluated like any other hotel feature, by how it changes the daily operation of the stay. The most useful buffets are the ones designed for repeatable performance, not the ones designed to look largest in photos. Not all hotels work for all travelers, and buffet setups are a clear example. A guest who wants quiet mornings and predictable timing needs a different dining setup than a guest who treats breakfast as an unstructured social activity. Subscribe for more hotel decision guides focused on practical outcomes, or leave a comment with the buffet feature that most affects booking choices.